We get into our episode?
Sure.
Okay.
Welcome to
I'm sorry. Try that again. Oh wait, hold on. Okay, now try it again. Sorry.
Okay.
I just want to cut down on any sounds and interruption I can make. Let me quick get it all out.
Make it all at once.
Yeah.
Welcome to episode 99 of the Bars Ankle High, your favorite ADHD podcast that explores life's low bars with wit and wisdom. My name is Katie.
And I'm Garet.
And if you want ad-free, extended video episodes, bonus episodes to be added to our close friends list on Instagram and sent cool stuff in the mail by us, then you can join
99
our
bottles
Patreon.
of beer on the wall. And stickers.
You can join our Patreon at patreon.com/thebarsanklehigh for just $5 a month. You can also make sure that you're following us on Instagram and Threads at the Bars Ankle High, and we are on TikTok at Ankle High Pod. We have merch at bit.ly/Ankle High merch, and it is episode 99. So what are we talking about today, Garrett?
Sensory overload.
I was like, you prepped something, right? Because
Let me just add. So yes, I did prep something. We are going to talk about sensory overload, like overstimulation. But I saw Katie yesterday. Katie stopped by, right?
yeah.
She leaves, fast forward, get, the baby fed, baby in bed. I settle in. I'm exhausted. It's like 9:30 and I'm watching TV and I went, I don't have an episode prep for tomorrow. Oh, God. My spouse I literally was like, maybe I'll just text Katie. He was like, go work on it. I was like, I'm tired. I can't. He was like, go work on your episode. I literally got sent a timeout last night at 10 o'clock to go work. He put my laptop in front of me. He was like, go work on it. So it was just funny that I looked at this and I'm like, what was my topic again? Oh yeah. Sensory overload, overstimulation.
The topic that you checked with me to make sure we hadn't covered yet.
Yep.
Last
That
week.
I started a week and a half ago. Then it left my brain. And I remembered last night. I remembered 12 hours ago that we were recording today and I needed to have an episode and a half prepped. So
it's a good thing that you didn't text me though, because I was passed the fuck out by
I figured
8:30 or 9 last night. And then I didn't even read your text and texted you separately this morning. So
I mean, to be fair, I texted you at 11:30 last night when I was about to go to sleep and I was like, 9 should work. And then when you texted me and you were like, what time? I was like, oh yeah, she definitely, I had a feeling she was going to miss it.
because usually if I get a notification for that chat, it's our group chat for the podcast. If it's something that you've done, because there was the text from your spouse about the next episode. Usually it's the alert is just you liking it or something. So it was it just didn't register that I needed to read more.
Yeah. Well, we also texted almost at the same time. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, I mean, I personally also would have missed it.
Yeah, I was dead. I woke up with drool down my face.
We laughed this morning. I was dead to the world. Once I went to sleep and then got up this morning, I could have slept for hours longer. My spouse wakes me up and we laugh because sometimes when we wake up the baby, you open the door and you go in and start talking to her and she'll have her face covered and she pulls the cover back and it's just it's you just shone a light right on her face. She's out of it. And that was exactly what happened. I had sleep lines on my face. He brings in coffee and I'm like, I gotta take a shower. It was a mess. So last night I also took a sleep gummy before starting the episode. So it was like a race to see if I could get something thrown together before my gummy kicked in. I didn't really win.
Let's find out.
So this, I personally am very sensitive. I noticed, I don't even know what the smell was, but I smelled something and I was like, couldn't get past it. Couldn't get past the smell. It was like, and I don't even remember what it was. Were we talking about a smell? Whatever. And I started thinking like, this has got to be an ADHD thing that I've got this really intense like smell sensitivity. So I was like, maybe we should talk about specifically, I know we've talked about sensory processing disorder, which is one of the things that makes you more susceptible to sensory overload. But I thought maybe it would be good, since we've kind of talked about it like tangentially, to talk about like an overstimulation. So I guess just from like a high level, what winds up happening, kind of the process, is you're in a situation where your senses are overloaded with input. So, whatever the sense is, it makes it where your brain can't prioritize what it is that it's supposed to process first, because everything's happening at the same time. So you wind up with this like stuck feeling, and your brain starts sending signals that it needs to escape the situation. So you wind up with like a fight or flight response in response to sensory overload, which, I had never really, I don't know, Googled sensory overload. I was like, it's just a thing that happens.
Yes. Yeah, no, I haven't Googled it either. It just...
You're like, oh, it's just the worst thing in the world.
I guess, well, and it's also that thing that like I didn't realize is what it was, but like why at like a holiday party going outside when it's really cold out without my coat on feels so good.
Is that not like the best feeling?
It's like jumping into a pool. Like,
yes.
It just makes everything quiet. It's so good.
Yes.
So it's one of those things that like one of the things that made me text you about starting the podcast altogether, because it was like, wait a minute, is this a thing that could be because of that and not something that everybody else deals with? So I feel like it's kind of like, that's how I feel about sensory overload, is like, oh, like it's not normal to like feel like my ears are wincing if I'm in a situation that's like too loud or whatever.
Yeah. Well, and when you put it, when I'm reading it in terms of a fight or flight response, I'm like, oh.
Right.
And again, that's like what, it makes sense why your brain is doing that. And there's definitely certain things, certain conditions that are going to make you more susceptible to sensory overload. But also, when you do have sensory overload, it's that much more severe. So things like anxiety, ADHD or autism spectrum disorder, PTSD, the sensory processing disorder. And I mean, for everybody, it's going to be a little bit different. The situation could be unique. I know personally, sounds, like loud sounds, will get me there real quick. Heat, being really hot. It's like that when we were doing that Would You Rather, like hot, hungry, tired. Those are the conditions that are perfect for sensory overload for me. So maybe you're in a situation where there's a lot of loud noise or you're hearing a lot of sounds at once. And for some people, the overstimulation, the too many things at once, can come off as like anywhere from like a discomfort to like pain. I wouldn't say necessarily discomfort. I would say like agitation is probably how I feel with these things. But maybe your clothes, the feeling, the texture of your clothes or the fabric, or maybe you're sitting on a chair. I know like I've sat on a chair like with shorts, and the feeling of the chair material is very rough, and it like hurts your skin almost.
Yes. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes. Like those really like
it's
woolly
like
kind of
wool
chairs
or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're, I have a hard time with Bed Bath and Beyond, not Bed Bath and Beyond, Bath
Bath
and
and Body
Body
Works.
Works in the mall. Can't go near it because of the smells. Yeah, I never used to be one of those, like, actually, I'm saying that, but like, I never used to have a sensitivity to like cleaning products or candles or like sprays. And now I'm like one of those people that like the emails go out about because I just like can't. It's like it immediately gives me a headache. Or maybe taste, like maybe there's a certain texture, or you're eating something that's like too hot, too cold. I wouldn't say taste tends to give me like a sensory overload thing.
Yeah, same. I would um there's definitely, yeah, I wouldn't call it a sensory overload, but like if I'm having leftovers and I get to a part that's like not hot after I've like tried to reheat it, I'll just stop eating because I don't want to eat this like mediocre meal. But it's not sensory overload. For me, it's more like when we were at the bar yesterday and the amount of music and then people talking over the music
Yeah. Oh,
when we were inside was what was I was like, I'm not going to be able to have a conversation with anybody in here because I'm going to be
right.
too distracted and like overwhelmed by everything else going on that no, I'm not. So we ended up sitting outside, but like it was definitely, yeah, it was obnoxious.
I can't even, like, if we're in the car, if we're even in the house and we have music playing, like, if we're having any type of conversation, like, you got to turn it down.
I need it
Like, I
way the
can't.
same.
I'm not yelling over it. I can't hear what you're saying. I don't know. I mean, at this point, everybody's watched The Office a million times, but like, I firmly feel one of the best characters on the whole show and super underrated. And I know I've talked about this guy before because he's one of those people that's in everything. Like, he's Colin Robinson in What We Do in the Shadows. He was in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. He's just been in, and I can't remember his name. It's like in my brain, but anyway, that guy played Nate on The Office, and he was like, "It's not that I can't hear because that's not true. It's just that when there's a lot of sounds happening at the same time." And it was like 100%. I think sound is probably number one for me,
Same.
I would say. So
Mark
one of
Proksch is his
yes,
name. P R O
yes,
K S C H.
yes. And in my head, I was thinking of the guy who was the guy that hosted Survivor.
Mark Probst.
And then in my head, I'm like, I'm close,
Or
but
no, Jeff Probst?
It's something like that. It's like a very similar name.
Yeah.
So, overstimulation, some people are going to have
Yeah, it's Jeff Probst.
Jet Mark
Yeah.
same
Standard
difference to
white
me.
guy name.
Right.
And then, yeah.
Similar last names. So overstimulation can be mild, severe, maybe, you got out of the situation really quick or you were able to decompress really quick, so it wasn't too bad. But there's like a whole list of things, not side effects, but things that you feel when you're overstimulated. So the inability to ignore the sounds, smells, whatever the sensory thing is. One of the examples I gave was like a siren goes by and you cover your ears, which I for sure do. Like if I'm out walking and an ambulance or something goes by, like I'm covering my ears. A loss of focus or confusion, 100%. It's like I can't
Yeah.
think. It's like a lot of sounds happen and it's my brain just immediately can't process, which makes complete sense why I can't. Feeling overwhelmed, agitated, irritable. Yep. Feelings of anxiety, like being restless, worried, like negative thoughts looping, a sense of like discomfort, becoming extremely sensitive to certain types of like textures or clothing, difficulty sleeping. You can have like digestive distress. I know like I'll sometimes feel like nauseated, eye strain, heart palpitations, lightheadedness, um, headache, dizziness, feeling like ill or faint, and then having like, you know, an emotional outburst because you're way overstimulated. And if you don't bring that stimulation down, you can wind up in a panic attack,
Yeah.
which reading that I'm like, duh.
Yeah. Well,
Like never
especially if
connected
it's
the dots.
triggering your fight or flight response.
Right. Right. Which, you know, I thought all this time, like, okay, I just, you know, when I'm really hot and I'm just cranky and, you know, I just need to cool down and, you know, have something to drink or whatever it is, like have
Yeah.
some water, whatever. And now I'm like, oh no, like my brain, it's not just me being cranky. This isn't like a personal flaw. It's not me just being crabby. Like, no, this is like your brain has gotten too much input, can't sort it, and you're in a fight or flight response. So I think like it's just another one of those things. I'm like, oh, that makes me feel a little bit better about when I'm a monster. And
I'm
so
not crazy. You're crazy.
I'm not crazy. She's crazy. I'm not crazy. She's crazy. And again, you know, we don't really know what the reason is, but the thought is that, you know, these things that make you more susceptible, so ADHD, autism spectrum, PTSD, things of that nature, that we probably do have structural differences of some sort in our brain. They're definitely saying that people who have one of these things because of trauma, where you know that it's causing changes to the brain, those are situations where they know that there are differences, and they know what's causing it. Everything else, they're like, well, you know, we don't exactly know why, but we're thinking, you know, there's some structural differences and maybe you just have a highly reactive like sympathetic nervous system that's, you know, it's like when we talked about the overactive amygdala. This is kind of the same thing, like just getting too much. And you know,
Yeah.
when you've got something like ADHD, you've got something where your brain already has a hard time filtering, prioritizing, ignoring things. I know, like, I also have a tendency, once I start that process of overstimulation and I start getting that input, it's all I can focus on. So if I'm hearing a noise that I can't unhear, a repetitive noise or something, it's all I can focus on.
No, it makes perfect sense when you put it that way, because that the idea that like we can't prioritize sounds, for example.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it makes sense that if I'm not great at prioritizing anyway, that when I'm inundated with something of the same genre, so like all different noises,
Yeah.
then I'm already my already overwhelmed brain just like completely blue screens and checks out, and then I'm
Oh, it's like
left.
overheating.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like when you have
Makes
your
sense.
laptop on your lap
Yes.
and you can hear it start to run like high pitched because it's like completely overheated and can't vent.
Yeah, and then you get a second-degree burn on your thighs,
And you've got like blankets around and
and you're
"What's
like,
this
"How did
fucking
this
problem?
happen?"
The stupid laptop sucks." You're like, oh. Oh. It's like last week, you dumb bitch.
There's too many items in the bagging area.
So
Which is a perfect example of overwhelm, because it's like this fucking self-checkout is screaming at me and I'm trying to get
Yes.
out of there quickly and get out of people's ways, because for
People
whatever
are
reason
waiting
I
for
feel like I'm
me.
in people's way
Yes.
when I'm buying my own groceries and I'm like not taking up any more time or
Yes.
space than anyone else. And
Doesn't
then
matter.
the checkout lady that lives in the computer is screaming at me about the weight of my cucumbers or whatever the hell the issue is, that it can't
Yeah.
identify what's on the scale.
That's why I don't use the self-checkout, because I buy so much produce when I go. I'd be there all day. Like
Yeah, that's fair.
it's just never going to happen. There was like I did find one, I'm going to read it directly. There was one article that I was reading and they were talking about, another theory of these like brain structures that contribute to this. So it said, the brain's white matter is where neuron networks form pathways to send signals. These signals connect the various regions of the brain and allow them to communicate. Too much stimuli can interrupt this communication and start a chain reaction in your body, sending a message that you need to get away quickly. Which is very similar to the other way it was put, but I thought the way that they phrased it was helpful.
Yes.
Because it really is just like a snowball effect. So like once that starts, it is truly like a chain reaction, and it is just going to peak, and then you're going to wind up peaking right to a panic attack. And what's worse? Nothing.
Probably having a wet sock or something.
Oh God. And I think too, if you've got ADHD and maybe you're already very sensitive to, sensory things, or maybe you already have a hard time filtering things out. Your likelihood of becoming really frustrated, like say you have emotional dysregulation.
I don't. I'm perfect.
I've never done that.
I've never
I'm
overreacted emotionally
so
to anything
regulated.
in my life.
Maybe your likelihood of becoming frustrated, irritable, anxious, maybe you're already starting it like up here. And I think that's the other thing too. So maybe, ADHD, autism spectrum, things like that, we're already operating up here, because all of those, you just think about, like, prime example, like you go to a big box store or something, or it's like a Sunday afternoon and everybody and their fucking mother is in the store, and it's hot out, and you were just outside and it's humid and like drizzling and your clothes are damp, and now you're trying to deal with those things while you're also trying to, okay, I need to get this and this and this, because maybe you're like one of us who forgets to make a list. Or, you were out running errands and you're like, oh, let me stop here while I'm out, trying to remember what you do or don't have in your, it's just like such a common thing. And if you're already up here, then you're going into this like super crowded store that's loud and bright, and there's, big screens everywhere, and, ads for things, and you're trying to like plan meals and remember what you bought the last time you went shopping and how much you used and what do you need and what do you want to make. And there's a lot of things, and like, if you already have issues doing all of those things, juggling all of those things, staying on track, and in the meantime you're getting text messages or there's music playing overhead or whatever it is, like, it's a fucking miracle that we're not all getting overstimulated all the time. I know, like, post-pandemic, everything overstimulated me.
Man, yeah.
Remember how exhausting that was? Like,
the
venturing
pandemic is
back
when I
out.
started shopping with my earbuds in and listening to podcasts.
That's a great idea. I only do that occasionally.
Oh, I do it almost
I never
every
have
time.
them with me. I never have my earbuds with me.
You have to get a second pair.
Yeah, I got to start doing that because it's a good idea.
Yeah, because I usually have them with me anyway, because usually when I'm going to the store, it's on my way home from work, and I have my earbuds in my work bag, so it's easy for me to do that. But I do have a backup pair at work in case I forget them at home for whatever reason. But I almost always, it's it's more the thing if I have to run an errand on the weekend and like go to Target or something, I get upset if I've forgotten my earbuds, because even if I can just have one in,
Yeah.
I can like use that to kind of like ground myself,
Yeah.
I guess is how I would put it. And that way I can better block out the overhead music and everything else. Because also, like, those stores are so fucking bright, which
Yes.
I understand why. Like, from a liability perspective, you don't need people tripping.
Yeah.
As a shopper, I want to see what I'm purchasing, especially for like
Yeah.
produce and stuff. Like, I want to see what it
Yeah.
looks like and that there's nothing wrong with it, whatever. Like, I get it. However, it's
It
so bright.
sucks. I
So
get it, but I
bright
hate it.
sometimes. Right. Right. Like, I understand the reasons for it. However, could we do every other light maybe? Or
Truly. Well, and
like
it's
dimmed hours? I don't know.
remember, post pandemic, like returning to the office or whatever it was,
Yeah.
like going from, hanging out, working at home, like totally comfortable clothes, calm environment where you can, you're controlling the controllables and everything is
Yes.
like as relaxing as it can be. And you go into the office and you're like fluorescent lights buzzing, air vents kicking on and doors opening and closing. And I mean, I for sure had times there was one time I was walking into work and we got a horrific thunder and lightning storm first thing in the morning. It was like 7 o'clock in the morning.
It was weird.
And I was walking in and I had like a block walk into work and completely soaked. Like my bra was wet, completely soaked. And I was sitting there and I'm like, our power had gone out and it was like humid and I'm sitting in soaked clothes. And it was one of those like, there's no coming back from this. Like I literally need to go home and put fresh clothes on.
So fucking weird about like
Very weird.
Like
just telling people that the power was out.
Our employer was so bizarre about like you couldn't. It was a thing where like the general rule is that you can't split your day. So if you're going to work remotely, you have to work remotely the entire day unless you have a catastrophic like tech failure at home and then you have to come in or charge your time.
Yeah.
And then
you have like an hour or two window, an hour window.
Yeah,
or something.
like you can't like go into work and work in the office and then say like, oh, well, I have an appointment at 1 that's like near my house. So I'm going to go to my appointment and then I'll go back to, like I'll log in from home and finish my day. That was not allowed. But then when this shit happens and the power goes out and they can't get it back on, they're like, it was because I got in like a good like hour and a half after you at that point, I think. And it was like, well, you can stay and wait to see if it turns back on or just go home and charge your time. And I was like, well, I'll just stay and like, who cares? Because like it was also a thing of like people who were at home couldn't like you weren't able to remote in or something because like the servers were down.
Yeah, there was
with
like a
this power
server
outage.
issue or something too.
There was it was just a fucking it was a clusterfuck. So I was like, well, what's the point of going home if I'm still not able to do work and
But
this
they
power is
still
out? But they were still
you-
weird about it.
Yes, because I went home and I was like, my clothes are soaked. There's nothing for me to do. Like, I'm not going to sit here for fucking 4 hours while somebody makes a call. Like, I'm going home. And I left. But then it was one of those like, oh, well, if you keep trying to log, like, I might have not having to charge time because I could have logged it. They were like making an exception or something. But then I spent all day having to constantly check to see if it was just ridiculous. But anyway,
same. No,
like
it was an absolute disaster.
Soaking
Like, it was
wet
so bizarre.
clothes in that situation, I was like, I'm absolutely not set. Like, I can't focus. I can't think about anything.
Meanwhile, my current employer, like my building, something happened with like the water line and there was no running water. So you couldn't flush the toilet, you couldn't wash your hands, you couldn't do anything. And they were like, yeah, if you need to go home and finish the rest of the day at home, you can do that. It's fine. But it also should be back up in a couple hours. So whichever one you want to do.
If they said that to me,
So
they wouldn't
fucking
have even
chill.
finished the sentence and I would have been out the door. Okay, bye.
If it wasn't 2 and I left at 3:30, like it was just the kind of thing where I was like, I'll wait and see. And if it gets to the point where I'm like, no, I've got to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Because that was the only thing where I was like, I just like I can get a bottle of water from the vending machine if I'm like dying of thirst.
Yeah.
But it was the only thing where I was like, okay, if I'm going to burst from my bladder exploding, then yeah, I guess I'll go home. But it ended up getting turned back on and it was fine. But it was the kind of thing where I was like, that never would have happened where we were. They would have been like, if you want to go home, you have to charge your time and fuck you.
Our building was flooded.
Yeah, that was
And
wild.
it caused mass panic for like a week.
Yeah.
I mean,
After the pandemic, like after the point in time where everybody should have a contingency plan for, quote, acts of God. Yeah.
there was no God involved in this.
There's our tangent.
Yeah. Sorry. But I mean, also like
medicated.
you're in I mean, working in that, like, I know I, for a long time, sat near a door, a main door, and it was just like
It's horrible.
constant overstimulation. So it is very hard. And it's like when I read that, I'm like, okay, well, yeah, I can totally see why ADHD makes you more susceptible to sensory overload. So does that mean I'm going to be a little bit more understanding with myself in the
Right.
future when I'm in a situation?
I'm going to be meaner to myself.
I'm going to be fucking meaner because now I know more. I should know better. But also, like, you know, now that part of this is like educating ourselves so that we can go into a situation more prepared. Like, I know certain situations I go into, okay, do I always leave the house with a bottle of water and snacks now? Yep. You know what else I carry all the time and everybody laughs at me? Those little foldable paper fans, like it's, I don't know, 1805. They're in everything. I keep them on my desk at work. They're in all of my, you know, my purse, my travel stuff. I always keep one because sometimes you're hot as fuck and you can't cool down. And you know what makes you feel a little bit better? Being able to fan yourself immediately. And now I think about that and I'm like, oh, that's
Were you
why
ever
I do
told
that.
as a kid when it would get hot in classrooms and everyone would make those paper fans that you actually get hotter by doing that?
They can suck
than-
every last D. It's not true. You
That's
know
what
what?
I said. I was like, exactly how many like calories am I burning here, like by winging my arm back and forth? Like, I am not breaking a sweat from fanning my wrists. Like, if that were the case, then the Royals wouldn't be able to wave to crowds.
Hey, you know what? School district, here's the thought. Let's give these 30 children packed into one room on a 95-degree day a fucking fan. We didn't
Sometimes we had fans.
we like so infrequently. I remember in high school
I wonder
getting
if
to the top of the stairs,
schools
I
have
almost
AC
passed
these
out.
days.
A lot of them don't. A lot of them don't. Like
Ours
my
never
high
did.
school did not.
Yeah, mine didn't.
I remember almost passing out at the top of the stairs one day because it was so hot and it was like, you know, 90 something degrees and humid. And
I just
And
remember,
also-
like, in May and June, all of my teachers, especially on the second floor, would have the lights off.
yeah,
And, like, that was just, like, a standard, like, lights off, soft voices. We're all just going to sit still.
right. You know, I actually this is like kind of related. So I was listening to this NPR story because we all know I'm a big NPR nerd. And they were talking about outside of Mexico City, there's all of these macaques, maybe some kind of monkey in the woods, in the jungle. And normally they are like super aggressive, super territorial, and just a nightmare to deal with.
They
So
throw
there's
their
been this-
poop everywhere.
Throw their poop at everybody.
Relatable.
Is
I'm
it?
sorry, I ruined your story.
I think it was outside of Mexico City. Now I'm trying to remember. Ultimately, what ended up happening? There's a heat wave, and the monkeys are like literally just like, oh no, I think this might have been in Puerto Rico. There was an island off of Puerto Rico, and in Hurricane Maria, it wiped out like all of the trees on the island.
Right.
So all of these monkeys that have previously been very aggressive that are living on this island, they now don't have shade. So monkeys are like dying because it's so hot.
Damn.
People, the people that they were talking to who are scientists were saying like they would walk on this island and animals were following them in their shadow just for like shade from the sun because there's no
Holy
shade
cow.
and it's so hot. And what they found, these scientists, was that the behavior of the monkeys changed because the monkeys realized that it was too fucking hot to like fight, and it was just going to be easier to get along with each other. So like this,
Oh, so they're like aggressive towards each other.
oh, they're everybody like
Oh, okay.
territorial. They'll beat the shit out of each other, like just real intense monkeys. And the like interpersonal relationships of the monkeys in this area changed because it was too hot to fight. It literally was just like, it takes too much expenditure. And that's kind
And
of
then
how
they
I think
became
about
friends
this.
with the humans who had air conditioning and fans.
They were like, it's kind of like over the summer, like, oh, you have a pool?
Yeah.
All the monkeys
They're
are like,
like-
oh,
The Corvals that like bring you little trinkets
yes,
if you leave out
Yes.
food for them. Yeah.
yes. They're like, oh, look, they have a fan.
Interesting. Interesting.
But like, I mean, in high school, you know, you think about, I can't even imagine. I used to wear jeans. I would roll up my jeans like when it got hot, because we weren't really allowed to wear shorts or tank tops because of like, you know.
Well, we definitely weren't allowed to wear spaghetti strap tank tops. You couldn't wear any tank top where your bra strap showed because that would allude
Tempt the
to
boys.
sex and I don't know, like prove that I wear a bra, like as if anybody's doubting that these cannons aren't being strapped down for everybody's safety.
They made
like-
it sound like you were going to walk in and somebody was going to run over, rip over your shirt and go, I knew it. I knew you wore a bra.
Yeah. Yeah, suddenly everybody was in the scarlet letter because you wore a bra and
Yes.
whatever. But
Yes.
no, shorts, you could wear shorts, but also it kind of lucked out because like when we were in high school, at least like around the time I was graduating, like those heinous gaucho shorts were like trendy, but so were Bermuda shorts.
Yes.
like-
yes.
Which
I
I,
did have
love
some
a good
Bermuda
Bermuda
shorts.
short. I still like them. I don't care that it makes me look like I coach softball.
Yeah,
just
they're,
comfy.
I just
They
don't
keep
wear
my
them
legs
because they're
from
very
chafing.
unflattering on me.
Yeah.
Yes.
You have to get
Yeah.
like the right length. 'Cause
5-inch
otherwise it does-
shorts are like the perfect thing for me.
I
need a
need like
5-inch.
7-inch because my
Yeah.
thighs are friends for too long before
Yeah.
they will willingly separate. And if I do
Yeah.
shorter than that, when I walk, they still will like ride up too much. And then I end up with the like frowny face shape on my shorts because the outside will be lower and the inside is really high up in my taint.
And full chub rub
Yeah.
in this weather. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, think about being in school and trying to learn when it's 95 degrees. Everybody smells like armpits. There's no AC, hardly any fans.
I can't
And-
imagine trying to be a teacher and standing in the front of that room.
Yeah, no.
Like especially for like math where you're like constantly writing on the board and
Yeah,
like
no.
doing I would pass out. I would simply die.
Yeah.
So if we needed another reason to pay teachers more.
Yeah. Or like the standardized testing that we used to have to do, which was always done in June at the end of the school year, and you'd be packed in an auditorium, which again was hot as fuck.
You heard
And
they're
they had
getting
to
rid
have
of the
lights
regents,
on.
right?
I did hear that. I'm so jealous.
I know.
God, that
That's
used
also
to
like the kind of thing where I was like, oh, should I have been putting something else when like, you know, when you fill out a job application and it asks for your high school and your college and for high
Advanced
school
Regents
and it says
diploma.
like type of degree.
Yeah.
And I just put diploma. I didn't realize that I should have been putting like honors regents diploma this whole time.
Yeah.
But like now I'm like, oh, should I be specifying? Like,
Please give me credit for this. I did a lot of work when I was 17.
I didn't really like, you know, consider it as having other options because, you know, it was never presented that way.
There's just a lot of things when I'm thinking about, you know, sensory overload, overstimulation, I'm like, it's a miracle that I got through whatever this situation was. Because, I mean, or remember having like an afternoon gym class? The worst. And you would just get, or I mean, alternatively, having a first thing in the morning gym class, and then you would get really sweaty and then be sweaty all day, or trying to like change back into your clothes if you were sweaty from gym class. Just the whole nine, just every bit of it. Like, there's so many things I think about. I'm like, ugh, never. I would never want to do that again. locker rooms, gym class locker rooms. Never again. Never.
For middle school, our locker rooms, we each got assigned a basket, like a wire basket, and that's what you kept your gym clothes in. So you would just like wear them over and over and over. And like once a semester, quarter, I don't know, they'd be like, "Hey, you got all need to bring your gym clothes home." Cuz it did not occur to me to do that.
No. I didn't have a lot like a locker and gym clothes like that until high school because we had gym days where you would wear sweatpants to school, and like t-shirts that were like monogrammed or whatever, and then
Oh, so you had like a gym uniform.
yeah, we had like a
My
dress
mom is
day
a
and a gym
huge
day.
proponent of phys ed uniforms. She thinks that they're, which I like understand because she's like, it just like equalizes it. You don't have to worry
Yes.
about what people are wearing or what the girl next to you is
Yeah.
wearing or whatever. Like you're all just in the same thing. She also thinks that boys and girls should be separated for phys ed because she just thinks that it creates too much problem. I think like more so in like middle school, high school, which like
Yeah.
I get.
Yeah.
I do think that like I remember there being an aspect of like self-consciousness around boys, particularly
For
when I
sure.
was on my period.
Yeah.
Like fucking nightmare.
But the boys were also just like so much more intense and competitive, and I
Yes.
hand to God, to this day, couldn't give a shit less about gym class. I was like not into it.
Well,
I
I
wasn't
think
athletic. I
for
wasn't
me,
competitive.
like I enjoy playing those types of games. Like I can get competitive with softball or basketball or whatever. But if you're putting me up against, you know, LeBron James,
Which is how it felt.
right, like I'm not like what's the point in me trying? Whereas if I'm with other people who are taking it maybe just a smidge more serious than me, but like to the point where it's maybe pushing me to try a little bit harder on my own, then I'm getting out of it the whole point of having a physical education class and doing something physical, which is to get you moving and see what your interests are. If you have any athletic interests or,
Yeah.
you know, breaking up your day so that you're moving your body and like doing something other than sitting in a chair for 8 hours. So like I do agree with it on the, you know, in that respect that I think like at once you hit like basically puberty, then like out of elementary school, I think perhaps they should be separated and that uniforms would be helpful.
I think
But
uniforms are good. I think they would be really good for gym.
yeah.
And I
I
do
don't think you need it for like regular class. I don't think that
No.
matters as much.
I hate it. Oh God, wearing a uniform. Everybody would be like, it must be so easy to get dressed, and like you're at an age where all you want to do is like
Express yourself.
find yourself out and like
Yeah.
express yourself, and like you can't. And I had to wear this dumbass, stupid plaid skirt. Like nobody. And it was we had ugly uniforms too. We didn't even have cute uniforms. So it was like, there was no Britney Spears happening. This was like, if there was only like, you know, struggling Britney Spears in these uniforms.
true.
There was no hit me. Oops, I did it again.
2007 Britney Spears.
Yes. They just like didn't look good. But, yeah, I think that, I'm going to, in the future, when I start to feel that feeling, because I tend to feel like tunnel vision a little bit when I get overstimulated. Which now that I think about it, it does put you on the path to a panic attack. I think I'm going to be a little bit more conscious of the fact that my brain is having a hard time sorting this information. Like I'm gonna try and unpack it a little bit when I start feeling that feeling. I know lately I would say my sensory overload has been triggered by it's like the end of the day, and the dogs are barking for dinner, and the baby's whining because she's hungry and wants dinner, and she does this thing. She will make a whiny sound, but she also takes her head and thrashes it back against the high chair, and it makes a really loud noise. So despite having spent several months giving her the tools to tell me that she's either done eating or wants more to eat, she would prefer to communicate all things by bashing her head against the back of the high chair. So
She is her father's daughter sometimes.
yes. So the whining, the head thrashing back, the dogs barking, hot kitchen, trying to decide what we have and what I can make for dinner. that is not when I am my best self.
Yeah. I have found lately, especially with it, like the heat wave that we just had, and
Now's a
I,
good time to talk about this with the heat wave because it's just like you're like on a
yeah,
super
so
highway to overstimulation.
for folks who don't live in upstate New York,
A lot of
last
the
week,
country had this, like the
or when,
Midwest
yeah,
got
like
it.
when this comes out, it'll be like 2 weeks ago now, but
Yeah.
because this comes out on the 4th of July. Yay.
Oh, yay. Remember that tweet and it was like, don't wish me a happy 4th of July. I'm not a fucking Republican. I screamed when I saw that. It made me laugh so hard.
Outstanding.
I
Yeah, I
died.
have
Yeah.
to find, because I decorate that window for my office with like dry
That's
erase
cute.
markers, but I have to figure out, I'm trying to put something that's like 4th of July related, but like those like punny shirts that are like, it's time to get 1770 lit or something, or like something that's like not political, not necessarily
It's
talking
hard.
about binge drinking in the office.
It's hard to find that balance of like
Yeah,
work
so I have to,
appropriate
like,
and not political and not like too spicy.
right. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm actually trying to use some discretion here and walk a line.
We're really
But,
proud of you.
Thank
We're
you.
really proud of Katie. Look at this growth. Katie's like, I'm trying not to talk about a muddy butthole on my office door at work.
For
Wow.
now.
Growth.
Not at least until I pass probation.
There we go. There it is.
But no, when it was, so a couple weeks ago, we had this crazy heat wave, and here the high temperature was like 96 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 36 degrees Celsius for anybody international. It was super fucking hot. And then
And
on top of
humid.
it was really humid. So then
Yeah.
the heat index was like 103 degrees.
Yeah, the feels
Fahrenheit.
like was like over
Yeah.
100.
Yeah, it was really awful. And then on top of it, my air conditioning in my car stopped working. So my 30-ish minute commute to work was less nice.
I will have it be known that this time last year when there was a heat wave, my air conditioning also went in my car, to which I told my spouse we would be going out and getting a new car that weekend because I would not be doing anything pregnant in a heat wave with a car and no air conditioning.
Which is fair. So
Yes.
I did
And
have
I
to take my
waddled myself into that car dealership and was like, give me, they were like, is this okay? And I'm like, does it have air conditioning? Yes. That's fine. That was literally
like
the only
me
thing
when
I
I'm like, is there Bluetooth and power windows and locks? And they're like,
yes.
not 1997. Like, why? What
Yes.
a weird question, you ancient time traveler lady.
Yes.
No, so yeah, no, I did take my car in. It's going to be a really charming $1,100 plus tax to fix my air conditioner. But so join our Patreon, please, because I
Pay for Katie's air conditioning.
I'm not buying a new car. My car, it's only 6 years old, but more than that, it only has 50,000 miles on it. So I just refuse to get rid of this car right now.
I don't blame you.
So I'm
Like
it's-
mine was like 8 years old.
yeah, your car was much older.
Yeah.
But in any event, so we had this crazy heat wave, and I realized that one of the things that gets me very overwhelmed, and it has always been this way, but I think it's just also like getting older and having a house and living with a partner and having 4 fucking animals.
Yeah.
It's when things are messy, but like on the floor messy. So like we hadn't taken our laundry downstairs, so we had our pile of laundry, and it kept getting like knocked over or just like scattered about, and that was like really stressing me out. So it was like those little things on the floor that I just like kept picking up, and it was like when we're done recording today, I know that I'm just going to be doing like a speed run through the downstairs to get everything off the floor and situated and put where it needs to go, because when it gets hot like that, it's just that like cluttered feeling that when it's hot on top of it, like feeling suffocated visually is not doing it for me these days.
I can't even like deal with tight clothes.
Yeah.
Like if I wear like a pair of leggings that are like tight, or maybe like I have to adjust a lot or whatever it is, like first chance I get, I'm like, "Ugh!" I'm like ripping things off because I just can't stand that feeling of, and I definitely like, I just hit the point where I've like reached my max capacity. Like with the baby, I'm normally like patient, and it's like, whatever, like she's doing baby stuff, like she's being a little
Yeah.
chimp, and she's just gonna like wrestle me for things, and that's just how it is. But I know the other day I was very hot, very tired. It had been a long day, and my spouse was going to be late coming home, and I knew I was going to have to get through not just the rest of the day, but the crunch time of the day, the time between waking up from evening nap or from afternoon nap, dinner, cleaning up from dinner, feeding the dogs, getting her in the bath, getting her in bed, and then collapsing. And she started doing the head thrashing and like going boneless. And she likes to also throw her head back when you're just holding her. So sometimes you're holding her and she just suddenly does this like death drop, like Drag Race, like just throws her head backwards and just like drops. And I literally hit the point where I was like, baby, you gotta stop. I can't. I've hit my limit here. I am overstimulated, or trying to snuggle her to get her to settle down because she's about to go to sleep, and she takes her. This child has the strongest toes. She's just a very muscly baby, but she will take her toes and she will dig them into like the top of my thigh. I don't know how else to describe it. She somehow gets a foothold in my thigh flab, and she digs her toes in and then goes like pointed toes. And it's pretty painful. And that's another thing that I'm like trying to be calm. But also I'm like, stop.
The Lord is testing me.
Yes, the Lord was also testing me when she bit me with her two little tiny sharp teeth the other day, on the leg. That was shocking.
She bit your leg?
Yeah. Was just sitting there and just head down onto my leg, and I was like, okay. And
Maybe
then
she's on
suddenly,
the Santa Clarita diet.
maybe. I forgot about that show. Yeah, she might be.
I've only seen like 2 episodes, but I'm pretty sure I got the gist.
I can't wait for our next episode. Well, that was a little
that was super interesting.
sensory overload. And I mean, I knew it was more
dove
like
into it.
conversational. There wasn't going to be a lot of like, info, but it's just like such a real thing. And I think it gets the best of us. And I know I'm usually just completely taken off, off guard by it.
Yeah.
So I think it's good to just, have a little bit of awareness, maybe, do some self check-ins. We have in the past talked about like some ways to do like a little reset. Like the calm strips, like the breathing that the little guided calm strips can do. Or we were talking about like when you're at a like Thanksgiving, going outside into the cold air. Oh my God, I wish I could do that right now. It's just like the best feeling.
Yeah, you can go to the gas station and walk into their beer cooler. That's basically
That's
the same
another
thing.
good one. Yeah. Or
All you have to do is get in your car and drive to a crowded place and then hang out in a cooler.
where there's cameras and people and, all
Smells
that.
like beer.
Yeah. We did talk about doing like having a popsicle that you bring into the shower. Like that
yes.
combination of like hot and cool, or just taking a cool shower. Maybe I personally can't take a cold shower. I think it's
Cold
the most
showers were my bread and butter last week. I took so many cold showers.
can't freaks me out. I don't know. I just can't. My brain can't. The thought of cold water touching my back just
It was so nice. It was so fucking hot. Like, that's the thing.
So
like,
hot.
It was so hot that I was like, if I could drown myself in a shower, I would, because it's so hot.
Yes. It was really incredibly oppressive. And for us, that just meant like we couldn't go outside. So I was just like in the house all week.
Plus, you were left alone without a car seat.
You want to talk ADHD stuff? Sometimes the ADHD hits just right and you remember all of the things. You have great ideas. You don't forget anything. At the last second, you just grab everything you need and it's perfect. And when those happen, then you get cocky and you think that you're going to remember everything. And it was one of those I've had on my dry erase on our fridge for a week that we need to get a second car seat. And my spouse left for a work trip and drove to Long Island and sent me a text at 10:30 at night that he had the car seat in his car and we didn't have a car seat.
And for those wondering, Long Island's about a 4.5-hour drive.
Yep.
From where we live, so it was pretty far.
Yep. So I had to, my brother-in-law had to pick up a curbside Target order for me and bring me a car seat.
Yeah, the text I got from Garet was, "This is not the weather to be installing a car seat in. Oh my God."
I thought I was going to die. I almost died out there putting in
fair.
that car seat.
Yeah.
I also had to change, I had to put fresh sheets on our bed too. So it was just like all the worst activities. I did on Friday because we still had this hot, humid weather. I thought, I'm going to be the best mom in the world and this baby's going to shit her pants. She's going to be so excited and I'm going to get her little pool out and I'm going to put the pool outside. I found a covered spot to do it. I had this whole plan and running around like a crazy person, sweating my beehole off outside. I get this pool wiped down, cleaned up, filled, blew up the pool with my lungs in this hot, humid weather, almost died, get water in it, and I bring, the whole process of getting her just outside in a bathing suit, ready and in the pool with toys is like a gauntlet. So I'm like running around the house. I get everything ready to go. I bring her outside and I knew it was chilly. I knew the water was cold.
Yeah.
I stuck her feet in it and she was like, I'm like, hey, stick with me. Let's give it a minute. So we're standing in it. Her foot slipped and she sat down really fast in this cold pool. And you want to talk overstimulation? She was like, nope, nope, nope. Screaming, climbing up me like a baby chimp. We sat there for like 20 minutes. I was like, all right, okay, we're calm down. Let's try putting our feet in. Screaming, climbing me. So the overstimulation, the cold water thing, not just me. It's also the baby.
Well, hose water is much colder than cold
it was
water in your shower.
And it was cold. Like, I will hand it to her. It was,
I mean, cold water, like when
chilly.
I hang out in my kiddie pool in the backyard, if the water is like freshly from the hose, I have to put my feet up in the air because they will get too cold and like start to feel numb. So,
oh yeah. She
that's
was
me
like
choosing to sit in a kiddie pool in my backyard like a redneck hillbilly.
We have one in our yard too. It's just too fucking hot.
It's too hot.
So that's what I tried to do, and it turned into me spending all of this time and sweat running around getting this thing set up. And 30 seconds later, she was like, "Oh no, I'm not doing that. No, absolutely not. Just bring me back in the air conditioning." And
yeah, you'll have to put the water in and then let it sit for a couple hours and then go into the pool.
Which it would have been nice to put in the sun, but I didn't want her in the sun.
Yeah.
And I didn't have like an umbrella really to use.
Yeah.
So unless I was going to hold an umbrella the whole time, which I didn't want to do. So
why not?
Because
That sounds
overstimulation.
So holding a baby and an umbrella and making sure that she doesn't drown in the pool and
the dogs
entertaining her. Yeah.
It's
It would have been so easy.
yeah. So yeah, I hope everybody made it through all of the heat, because everybody's had a heat wave pretty much without getting overstimulated. And I hope that everybody can work on little tools to bring themselves down from an overstimulation.
Yeah,
I know, soft lighting, weighted blanket, AC.
Yeah, like when in doubt, just eat a popsicle in your shower. And
Soft clothes, putting on like really comfy clothes like PJs, taking a quick shower. Yeah, I think all of those things are helpful. Maybe an eye mask is helpful.
those,
some
like frozen ones.
Oh yeah,
That'd be so nice.
even if you just put a regular one like in the fridge or freezer, just so you're putting something like cool on. Have you seen those things? It looks like a big sock that you put on your head. It's supposed to be for a headache. And you put them in the fridge. Those things look great. I feel like that would be good for overstimulation.
They also have those like cooling blankets that like you pour water on and then you snap it. And
Yes.
it's really cold.
That's another
Those
good
work
one.
nice. We have those
Yeah.
for golf.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a couple of those and they are clutch this time of year. So definitely like, do some experimentation. Find some things that will work to de-stimulate
Stimulate.
you a little bit. Or maybe you're at work and it's crazy and you just want to go sit in your car for 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes. Maybe that's
with
enough
the air
to
on. Don't sit there in a hot car with the windows rolled up like
don't do that.
somebody who's gonna have the cops called on them.
Don't cook
do that.
yourself. Just decompress.
Yeah.
We're all about the decompression. And if you have a nice little decompression hack, let us know.
Yeah. On our Instagram, there'll be a post for each episode like we do every week. So comment on that, what your decompression hacks are when you get overwhelmed. Or how you guard against getting overwhelmed in the first place. Like,
so
do
hard.
you wear your headphones while you shop at Target like I do?
I'm still working on that. I mean, aside from like carrying snacks and water, I'm still working on but I think I am getting better at noticing when I'm starting to get like oversaturated and saying I need to get out of here. I'm getting oversaturated. So,
Yeah.
just check in with yourself. Do a quick check in and be like, "Oh, I feel like my chest has a weight sitting on it. Maybe I need to step away." Or
Yeah.
I'm getting tunnel vision. Or I'm hyperventilating. Maybe it's because all of the sounds have colors now.
Cut to our listeners with like police chasing them in the background and just like the flashing lights. Like, maybe I'm overstimulated.
Maybe all it is.
You're probably wondering how I ended up here. There was loud music and it was hot out.
Oh my God. I was
Someone
sweating.
was trying to talk to me about the election.
Oh my God. And I lost something in my car, or I lost something in my bag, or I dropped something. Oh God. It's like you just start thinking of all the scenarios. I mean, we talked about when we went to Europe a couple years ago, and we went out and I was hungry and I hadn't eaten all day and it was hot and I was the worst version of myself. I really was.
Yeah.
My spouse we walked for, I don't know, 2 miles looking for something to eat and it was not good times. Not good times.
Yeah, you
I
really
melted
should have
down.
broken down and accepted pizza.
Yeah, I should have. I really should have.
So until next week, just eat the fucking pizza, guys.
Eat the pizza, decompress, and don't have a panic attack.
And make sure you're following us on Instagram and Threads at The Bar is Ankle High. We're on TikTok at Ankle High Pod. We have merch at bit.ly/Ankle High Merch. And if you want ad-free, extended cut video episodes, bonus episodes to be added to our close friends list on Instagram, an on-air shout out, and goodies from us in the mail, then you can join our Patreon at patreon.com/thebarisAnkleHigh for just $5 a month. And, help me pay for the repairs in my dumb car. Also, leave us a 5-star review wherever you find us, but especially Apple Podcasts. If you can write out a review, that's super clutch. And starting August 1st, we have been nominated for a Women in Podcasting Award. So starting on August 1st, you will get to vote for us. So you'll be able, we're in the mental health category, believe it or not. And
The mental illness category.
it's a very aspirational mental health category.
They're like, we're calling this mental health in quotes. Just kidding. Just kidding.
But starting August 1st, you'll be able to vote for us. So make sure that you are following us on those socials and which you're tuning in. We'll probably record like a little reminder to put into our episodes at that time. And yeah, until next week, eat your pizza and take a load off so that you don't get overwhelmed because the bar is ankle high.
I love that.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks.